welcome back to Book Buzz with Jan and Peng, a podcast where we talk about romance books, our current reads, and we also have the pleasure of sitting down with some of our favorite authors and chatting with them about their amazing books.
Hi, everyone. I hope you guys had an amazing week. To me, I've had a good week. I haven't read as much as I hoped I was going to read. But I have a bunch of arcs in my Kindle and I'm over here like leaving it for the last minute, but it's okay. It's funny because I think I told you yesterday, I have like 6 arcs in my Kindle.
Yeah.
And I went and downloaded Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. And that's a long book. It's a long book. So I'm like, should I read it or should I like hold it and read my arcs? So decisions. But hopefully I still need to make up my mind on what I'm going to do this weekend. So today it's a very, very fun podcast. We have the honor of talking with Mary Elizabeth. I know you guys have heard me talk about her books in previous podcasts. If you haven't, Mary Elizabeth writes some of the best dark romance books that I've read. She is amazing. She's super sweet. Her books are okay. So when I say dark romance, I have a hard time nailing a trope for her books, just because I think it has a little bit of everything. But I'm going to go with dark romance because it feels like dark romance to me. And we're going to ask her what she considers her books later today to see if I was wrong. But she recently released Criminal. Criminal is phenomenal. It is the 3rd book in the Hush series. If you haven't read Tramp or Harlot, Tramp is the 1st book, Harlot is the 2nd. I would recommend, actually, it's impossible for you to read Criminal if you haven't read Tramp, just because Criminal is the 2nd book in Lydia and Talent's series, which is their 1st book was Tramp. So you definitely have to pick up Tramp first. Harlot is a different couple, but I still recommend you reading that book too, because a lot of things happened that takes you to the 3rd book. So if you haven't yet, and we are going to be talking to Mary about Criminal. I loved Criminal. So make sure you stick around and listen to that. We are going to be talking to Mary about Criminal. So make sure you stick around. I'm so excited to ask her things about Talent. But if you haven't read the Hush series, please pick it up. It is amazing. So sit back, grab some coffee, and we hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Make sure you stick around to the end because we're going to be playing How Well Do You Know Your Books with Mary. I love doing those. They're so much fun. Seeing them sweat because I know they're trying to make sure they don't get the wrong book. Like narrow down. It's so funny and I love it. So make sure you stick around, and we also have some amazing details on what's to come with the podcast. So make sure you stick around to listen to that, and let's get to it.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Mary. And it's definitely an honor to have you on our podcast. And I've heard so many things about your books from Jan. And so I'm excited to know a little bit more about you and a little bit more about your books. And so first off, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I'm nervous. So
well, don't be nervous. It's going to be fun. So we wanted to start off a little bit with trying to get the readers to know a little bit more about you. So I want to start off by asking you, what motivated you to start writing?
I started writing when I was 23, like a stay-at-home mom. I had just had my twins, and like 18 months later, I had my son. And my husband worked a lot, so I was home with the kids by myself. And it was like right around the time where Twilight, like the first Twilight movie came out. So of course, like we were all obsessed, right? And I read all the books in like a week, and then I was like, I need more. So I went online and found Twilight fan fiction, And like, I feel like my life like really started. So I got like into Twilight fan fiction, and I was reading this super popular fan fiction, and it ended, and I absolutely hated the ending. I thought it was like the worst ending ever, total injustice. So I was like, I could do it better than that. So that's when I first started writing. And actually, the first thing I ever wrote was Closer, which is published now as like an original fiction. But that was the first thing I ever wrote, and it started off as a Twilight fan fiction.
That is so crazy. You know, I feel like everybody we ask this to, they either started writing after Twilight or after 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. Well, they kind of go together, you know, like 50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight fan fiction. So, and it was one of the bigger ones, but that's Dusty was also a really big Twilight fan fiction, and ended up getting like millions and millions of reads on this free website. And when self-publishing became a thing, it was just like a really natural transition from fan fiction to writing my own.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a huge fan fiction. Yeah, so that's how I got my start.
How do you develop your plots and characters?
I don't know. Every single book is different. Like I said, with like in the beginning, when I started writing fan fiction, it was a little bit easier because it was like we already had these characters, right? Edward, Bella, fine. But when I started writing my own, I found it wasn't as easy as just sitting down on my computer and writing. I had to start writing very detailed outlines. So I'm really strict with my outlines. So I get ideas different ways. Like with Tramp is about an escort who works in offices. Like she doesn't, you can't buy her in a bar or anything like that. She comes to you at your place of work. And I got the idea from this podcast I was listening to, because it's like a real thing. Like there's really escorts out there who come to your office as a client, but really an escort. And I thought it was brilliant. So that's where I got that idea from. So it's just different things inspire me: music, movies, people. I'm pretty introverted, so that makes me like a really great listener. So I people watch and people listen, and that's how I get ideas. Yeah.
And I know with talking to you, when you're writing, you get so into your characters. Yes. And there's times where you'll message me, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like, and I was like, you're gonna do amazing. Like, I love your book. So what is the most difficult part of the writing process? Like, is it starting the book, in the middle of the book, at the end of the book, or what's the hardest for you?
The hardest part for me is staying on schedule. I feel like that is just like my weak point. As far as like a writing, I know I have these, and I feel like every single writer has a point where they're so immersed in their characters and in this world, and you spend so much time with them, you almost feel like you lose it. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's like so invested in it, and especially if you don't have very many beta readers. I usually only have one when I'm writing. Any more than that, like I get really overwhelmed. So I have one who's been with me since I was writing Twilight. And so she and I, we bounce back ideas and stuff like that. But it just gets to a point when you're writing where you just feel like, I feel like I'm losing it. I don't know if this is right. And that's when I text you and I'm like, I think this sucks. But I'm really confident in my talent as far as like being able to write a book. My weak point is staying on schedule. I'm actually really bad at it, and I'm getting better as the years go by. I like my outlines really help, or keeping a schedule, because I work also and I have 3 teenage children. So I'm getting better at realizing, okay, I have to write an hour here, an hour here, an hour here, and then that's all I have. If I put too much pressure on myself, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And then I really get off schedule. So if there's one thing that I was better at, it would definitely be time management.
To date, what has been the hardest book for you to write?
Dusty, 100%. And for a lot of reasons. Not only because of the plot of the book, but because of the process and who I co-wrote the book with, the entire thing was really hard. Yeah, and that's, and I get asked because it was so popular. It was a huge fan fiction. It was huge. And still, like you said, you got asked a lot of Dusty questions. I get asked questions about Dusty every single day. And the thing is, the book is nearly 10 years old and people are still reading it for the first time and still like, it has a cult following. It just does. And none of my other books compare to it. And so it means a lot to a lot of people, but it's hard for me to even go back to when I was writing, or that whole 5-year span of when Dusty went from fan fiction to original fiction. So yeah, nothing compares. Dusty's definitely the hardest.
So I'm quite curious as to how co-write works. How do authors decide which chapter to write, or like which character?
Or certain scenes?
Yeah.
So most of the time I feel like it really goes to like chapter for chapter. Like so Dusty was originally my idea. Dusty was, I had the idea for this girl, her name was Bliss, right? Well, that was her nickname. And then there was Dusty, who had all these issues, right? So it was like a good girl and a bad boy, which isn't very original, but the story is. And so that was my story. And I had a friend had a similar writing style as me. And Dusty originally started off, the idea for it was a novella, and we were going to enter this writing contest with it. And as soon as we started writing it, we're like, okay, we know this is way more than just a novella. It ended up being, I want to say, gosh, the original of it is almost like 100,000 words. Like, it is a monster.
Wow.
And yeah. So I invited her to write this with me, and I had the plot and I had the characters, and then she helped me fill in, the holes. And so when we started writing, we just went for chapter, but there was certain scenes in the book where I knew, okay, she would do better than this, and she knew I would be better at this. So there was a few chapters where like I would write 3 in a row, or she would write 1 in a row, but mostly it just went, I'll do chapter 1, you do chapter 2, and so on. So that was mostly that.
Before you came in here, when I was talking about how we were going to have you, I consider, because the Hush series for me is I consider it a dark romance. Yeah. What would you consider that series plus your previous books? Because I feel like you've written different genres and tropes. So where were you categorize your books in?
It's kind of hard. And I know I've talked to you about that before too, about getting better at genres, but I feel like I just get it with contemporary romance and then let it be whatever everybody's going to think it's going to be, because it's not, I can't put my finger on like, okay, this is dark. Like, and with like, it could be mafia themed, but it's not really a mafia. It's dark, but it's not like
too dark.
And it's a romance, but it's like also very character driven. My books are all very character driven. So the tropes, especially, which I feel like is like this new, like awesome word that we're all using, that kind of falls behind the characters. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's just kind of how it is. And
Since you brought up the word trope, what are some of your favorite tropes?
Ooh, so, and I can never probably write this myself, but I love the older man and like the younger girls. Like I am like obsessed. Yes, I love yes, but like they have to be like daddies. Like, like it has to be. That's my favorite.
Going forward, what trope have you not written yet that you would like to write, though?
Well, let me see. So the next Hush book is going to be like a fake dating / love angle. So I've never really done that before. So I'm kind of like excited about doing that. What else? What else is there? Like I really love like the daddy like books, but I don't feel like I could do it any justice. Like I'm too wordy for all that, like that just has to be like I'll let everybody else handle that one. But I really I like friends to lovers, which I feel like I'm really good at and I do pretty often, which is like Dusty is like the ultimate friends to lovers book to me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't, the tropes thing is, it's difficult for me because I just like, I have an idea, I write it down and I don't think about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not like, I don't like, I'm going to go down this list like some others do and it works. And it, you know, maybe it would work for me too, but it's just not where I'm at right now. It's hard for me to categorize myself like that.
Well, I'm an age gap person. I love reading age gaps. So if you do write it, I'm totally going to be picking it up.
Ah, yay.
So what do you find more challenging, the first book in the series or the rest of the subsequent novels?
I mean, with the Hush series, I feel like Tramp was a breeze to get through. Harlot, with second book, was actually a little bit harder, and then Criminal actually was really hard. So yeah, so the first one's always easiest for me, anyways. Criminal, I definitely had the hardest time getting through, and not because like I didn't have the idea, like I had the entire series planned out, but just like sitting down and doing it, yeah, that was definitely this part for me.
Because you said the hardest, what about it was hardest for you when you're writing Criminal?
The hardest part for me was getting my characters to change gracefully. You know, you have to have, like, these characters have to develop, but Lydia in particular is so stubborn. And sometimes, like, and I would be writing and like I have my awesome outline. I'm like, you have to do this, this, and this now. And she's like, no, like I wouldn't do that. It was, and this was actually, I've been working with my beta reader for about 13 years now. And I feel like with Criminal and Lydia, this is the first time where she and I didn't agree on, you know, in the direction the book was going. I knew where to go, and I was pushing Lydia into that space. And my beta reader was like, no, like I don't think she would do that. And so that was the hardest part of this book, and get Lydia to be like you have to change now, you know, like it's a natural progression. Let's go. And so yeah, but I love her. She's probably my favorite girl I've ever read. Yeah.
And how much research goes into your books? Because I know you said with Tramp, you got it off of, I believe, a podcast.
Yeah.
So how much research went into this series, or how much research goes through for any of your books?
A lot, actually, because I mean, what do I know about like escorting, you know, or even like Talent? He's a lawyer, a business lawyer, and he's in the mafia. So I don't know anything other than what I see on like TV. So yeah, there was a lot of research I went to as far as like lingo and what these people do all day. Like, I don't know what lawyers do all day, you know, on like author/hairstylist. So, yeah, so a lot of research goes into it, and that takes time too. You know, that takes time from writing also.
So from all the books that you've written, which one is your favorite?
Probably Tramp. I probably would, like, all of my books have like different meaning to me, like Closer being the first one I ever wrote. True Love Way centers around like anxiety, and I've suffered with anxiety, panic disorders since I was like 20. So that one was pretty close to me. Dusty, of course, probably changed my life. And then Tramp, I just really love Lydia a lot. She's the main character in the entire series, even though each book is about someone else. Like Tramp is about Lydia, Harlot is about Camilla, and Criminal is mostly about Talent, but Lydia is like the center of everybody's universe. And I wrote her, and there's a lot of me in her as far as, you know, her hard upbringing and her inability to connect with people. So I put a lot of myself in her. So I feel like I am super defensive of her and protective. And yeah, she's definitely my favorite. There's just something about her that's just like so amazing.
So what is one thing, because I know you said you're protective of Lydia. So what is one thing that one surprising thing that you discovered while writing this series?
I just that like there doesn't have to be like necessarily like bad people. How can I put this? And I guess it comes to like the morally gray, like just because they're not like pillars of the community, like doesn't mean they're bad people.
Mhm.
You know, and so finding the balance in that, that was like a really like surprising place to be. Like, don't judge a book by its cover, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's so
And
funny. I
finding the
remember
yeah.
I remember when you were writing Kiss of Death, that I was like, oh my God, I love him. And you're like, he's very mean. I was like, no, he's not.
Yeah, it's finding like a middle ground between like kids are. I mean, they're like mafia hitmen and prostitutes and like even her clients. Like her clients are all doctors and you know other politicians. And it's like, okay, these are all supposed to be really great people, but like they're not. And so it's like finding like the balance in all of it. You know, that was like it was like a weird to be like headwise as far as writing. And then making sure like the bad guys are like super bad. I don't know, it's like yeah. It's a lot of fun to write.
Can you tell us a little process how you come up with your covers? Because I seriously think your cover for the Hush series, like how you cover their eyes,
Yeah.
I think that's very unique. And so how do you
Thank
come
you.
up with your covers?
So I knew I wanted to have like females on the cover just because it's really a female driven series. And so I was going back and forth with the cover designer, Dana, who is Dana by Designs. And I was thinking like, so Lydia works for like this huge escorting service. And of course it has to be a secret, which is why it's called Hush. And so I was like, how perfect would it be to like mark her eyes out? Like you could see her, but you can't get like the whole picture, you know? And so I was going back and forth with my cover designer. I was like, how can we make like secretive, but not? And she's like, well, we could flash the eyes out. Like, yeah, that's perfect. And so we went back and forth with that and we did different slash marks and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Let's just like bring the flowers from the back over. And then she showed it to me. I was like, oh my God, that's freaking perfect. But it was Criminal. And Jan actually helped me find the cover image because Criminal had a whole different cover until when, like 2 months ago?
Yeah.
And for a whole year, it had a whole different cover. And I was like, I hate this cover. Like the more I looked at it, I just hate it. And so she and I went and looked for pictures and we found that picture, JJ Michaels. And I was like, that's like so hot. It's like we can't cover his eyes because there's so much emotion in his eyes. We can't cover them. And I was like, well, he's a man, so we just won't, you know. But for the next one, we'll go back to covering the eyes up. But yeah, it's symbolic without being like obnoxious, kind of. You know?
And I do remember that whole conversation with the Criminal cover. Yeah. I remember when you first got that image, the one that you used for the final book. You did originally cover his eyes, remember? Yes. Yeah. And I told you, I was like, how about you don't cover his eyes? And you're like, but it's gonna look weird because the other books. I'm like, yeah, but this is talent. Like, you cannot cover his eyes.
No, for real. And it worked out. It's so great. It looks amazing. It really does with the green and that's amazing cover.
I also love the Kiss of Death cover.
Yeah, in fact, she's working on the new one, so I'm just waiting for her to send it to me. I'm waiting. We're waiting for the Vixen cover too. I still need to find a person, but I know what flower I'm using, so I still need to find the perfect.
I'm excited for that one.
Me too. I'm really excited to close it up. I feel like Vera is going to be the perfect. She is so completely different than Lydia and Camilla and even Talent. Like she's going to be amazing. So I'm really excited about that.
You're excited. I'm nervous.
I know you are.
So I know that you mentioned a little bit earlier how Dusty it has a big following. When we asked in the stories if people had any questions for you, we had a bunch of Dusty questions. I see a bunch of Dusty questions in your group too. So I know you said that you don't, you're not in the mindset to go back to that world anymore, but will you ever, because I remember I read the series and I need a happy ending because I feel like it's missing that happy ending. Will you ever go back to that world and add more to it? Or will you ever go back in? Because I know we have authors where they're like, well, I read my first books and I went back in, rewrote some stuff, I polished it a bit more. Would you ever do that or write more to that series?
So I go back and forth with that. It would be difficult, and it's not something that I don't think about doing like often. But I don't know. I don't know. It's a hard one because I do think about it. I do think there's still so much potential with Dusty and Bliss, and their story ended open-ended, which I don't hate. I know and I feel like that is added to this whole craze behind it. And I don't hate the ending, but I do feel like there's so much more story to tell. And sometimes I think that I'll finish it. Yeah, I'll finish it. But then sometimes I think, oh, it might be like an injustice to finish it. Like maybe they're like supposed to be where they're at when it ended. And I did write a future take for Charity Time, and it raised like a ton of money for this charity. And I wrote it, and it's out there. I don't give it out self, but it's floating around on the internet. So there is like more to after, what happened after the end of the second book. But yeah, it's out there.
Why do you think readers love this series so much?
I feel like a lot of people could relate to them. And again, it's super character driven, and it's getting I have so many people, like my freaking messages are flooded with, it's just like Euphoria. It's just Euphoria. I'm watching Euphoria and it reminds me so much of Dusty. And people are in love with that show. You know what I mean? It's halfway relating, it's curiosity, it's a lot of things. The whole good girl, bad boy thing, everybody loves it. Everybody wants to save them, Dusty be saved. But I feel like people just really want to like help. And so maybe they read Dusty and want to help them. I don't know. I never expected, but yeah, I had no idea. And it's a very complete story, from beginning to, where the book ends. It's very complete. All of the secondary characters mean something, so you start with these characters when they're a little bit younger and you grow up with them. So maybe people just feel like they know them. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I remember when I finished it, I messaged you. I was like, is there am I missing a book? Like, where's the next part?
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's a very interesting series. And, now that I think of it, because I haven't watched Euphoria yet. It's on my to-do list. Everybody at work, I have two coworkers. They're like, you need to watch it. You need to watch it. And they talk about it. And it does, it does remind me of Dusty. So it does remind me. And I need to watch it. Who doesn't love Zendaya? I love her.
Oh, I love her.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about Criminal. That one just released. It is part of the Hush series. I would recommend, I find it very, very hard for people to pick up Criminal if they haven't read Tramp and Harlot. So it is about an escort, Lydia. And in Criminal, we do see her character, I'm going to say mature, because she was this closed off woman who didn't let her feelings show. She didn't let anybody in her life. And then here comes talent and changes everything for her. I remember when I picked up Tramp, I had no idea where this story was going to go. Yeah. I was like, when I started and then I ended it, I was like, oh my God, like, I love her. I love how close she is. And it's going to be very interesting to see her start letting people in. So when we get to Tramp, we see that side of her where she wants to let it happen, but her inner self is fighting it.
Yes.
So she still wants to be that person, but she also wants to be the person she knows talent needs.
Mm-hmm.
So how was it when, like, looking back, how was it writing Criminal coming from Tramp?
Yeah, just like I said earlier, it with Lydia, you know, in Tramp, she's particularly closed off. Like, she lives this invisible life. Like, that is her goal, is to be not seen, not unless you're paying for her time, you know, and she embodied that into every aspect of her life. She worked 5 days a week. The other 2 days, she didn't leave her apartment, you know? And so when she meets Talent and they have like this connection, it disrupts her entire life. And we see that in they're so big characters in Harlot, even though they're not the main characters. So like you said, like from Tramp to Harlot to Criminal, you see her opening. And I don't know if it's particularly because that's what Talent needs from her. I mean, he does. But I feel like she does it more for herself. Like, she had this childhood where she basically grew up in a strip club with her mom. And so it was like uber sexual, you know, she just saw these men preying on these women all the time. But she knew women have so much power for simply being women, being beautiful. And so that's what she did. But when she met Talent and Camilla and Wilder and then Farrah, she sees this different side. And Dogma, you know what I mean? Like, she sees like, okay, I could have a family. And so she needed it for herself. And not only could she have a family, but she could be safe with them. And so seeing her progression and her transition from, you know, super closed off to where she's at when Criminal ends, which I won't say. But yeah, I think it's like this awesome, like, blooming of personality, you know? And it was hard to get her to open up because even I'm like that. I am extremely introverted, and I have very few friends who I consider close, which you are. You're one of my, you know, favorite people. But it's hard for me to open up. And so making her open up when I don't know if I do that was hard. And so, like, I had to, like, come on. Like I said earlier, like, I was like, so you have to do this. And I feel like it was like an amazing experience.
And, you know, and it's funny that you said that, because it's true. Like, I could relate to Lydia at some extent. I'm not, and me and Ping were talking about this yesterday. I'm not the type of person I don't hug people. And when people hug me, and my friends always say this to me, you tense up. I'm not the huggy person. I'm not the person, and my sisters can attest to this. Like, they'll be like, I love you. I'm like, thank you. Like, it's hard for me to express all of that. I'm not the lovey-dovey, touchy person. I'm more of a, hi, how are you, from afar. But I'm not that, you know, let me give you a hug every 5 minutes or anything. That's not me. And that's how Lydia was. It's like, we can be like coworkers and not have any close relationship at all. And I feel like that's how she is. But then we get to Criminal and we see her walls start breaking up a little bit.
Yes.
And we see her getting used to, you know, okay, this is how it feels to have friends. This is how it feels to have, like you said, a family, which was, to me, very interesting to see, because when we first started Tramp, she was 100% closed off.
Yes. Yeah. And there's, like, actually, the funny thing you say that about a hug, but in Tramp, there's a scene where Talent hugs her and she freezes up because she's like, he's trapping me, you know, like, he's like, it's hurting me. But then she's like, he's not trapping me, he's hugging me, you know, and she doesn't know the difference between being trapped and hugged. And so that, like, I remember putting that in there because I feel the same way, you know, for introverts to be hugged, you're like, no, you know, like, And so, so I put that in there, and it's her. That's why I'm so protective of her. So, the thing with Tramp, which I'm seeing a lot of, is people either get, like, I understand her, like, I'm the same way, or they're like, what is wrong with her? You know, like, why is this way? So, you know, I don't know. I love her. I think she's perfect.
I love her. I think she's a total boss. And I think that's what I loved most about her, that, yeah, she had talents, but like beside her, I'm not going to say in front of her to protect her, because she could protect herself. Yeah. She's 100% the boss. And I think that's what you might have given her, that, you know, you broke down her walls, but she still is this fierce boss lady who takes care of herself. She does things herself. She doesn't need talent to do anything for her. And I think that's what I loved most of the book, because you didn't change her to be this, you know, lovey-dovey, weak heroine. You still kept her at her throne, and she is this boss, but now she's letting more people in her circle. Yeah. Versus not having anybody with her. And I love how you gave her a dog that became her like everything. Yeah.
Well, I mean, she knew talent, but the dog was like the first person she really softened up to. Mm-hmm. You know? And then slowly all these different people started falling into places in her life. Like Dawn, dog mom, is like almost like a mother figure. Her driver is almost like a grandfather figure. Mm-hmm. And she has Camilla, who's like a sister. And like, so all these people start falling into place into her life. And like, yeah, she's never going to stop being Lydia. Like, she's not, but she finds it in herself to open up to let these people in. And then they become like a unit, you know, instead of her being totally alone and invisible. She's not invisible anymore. And there's another stick in Criminal where, and this is another thing that I do, is like when people are talking to me and like, I know what I need to say, you know, and I'm like, okay, say it. But I just like, I can't, you know, like I want to be like, I want to tell you, I love you so much. But if you're not like in my like personal circle, I could feel this way, but I'm not telling you, you know what I mean? And like, that was another big hurdle she had to come over. So, and she did, she did.
So if you have to describe talent in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Charming, which is his biggest thing, is he's charming, patient, and dangerous. Yeah.
He is yummy. Yummy too. How many books do you have planned for the Hush series? Is it going to end with Vixen, or is there potentially could be more?
No, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's over with the next one. Yeah, I think I have right to close it up. I might, and I've been kind of messing with the idea of a novella after. I just have to see exactly how it's going to end, because it's going to revolve around 3 characters instead of 2. So I need to kind of see how it's going to end for one of them at the, see what happens. And so I may write a novella. I don't see myself writing a whole nother full-length book though. I have 2 other books I really, really want to write this year. And I feel like I've been putting them off because it was only supposed to be Tramp. When I first started writing Tramp, it was supposed to be a standalone. It was supposed to be an end. It was supposed to be, it was supposed to end there. And it just obviously didn't. And it keeps going and going. I didn't even know I was going to write Vixen until I was writing Criminal. And I was like, I have to write another one. So as far as I'm concerned right now, it's ending the 4th book. We'll
I'm scared. Listen, I'm super excited. Like, I need you to like finish it already, because I need to know what's going to happen. But I'm very curious, and I really hope you do a novella, because like me and you have had this conversation already like a million times, I feel, about those 3 characters. Yeah. And so I'm very curious to how I'm so scared thinking about that book. I'm so scared.
Like, you have your little hard limits that you don't like to go past, and I don't know if I could stay lines or not. We'll see.
What is one thing that you like most about the Hush series?
I like character development a lot. I love characters in a book. That's, for me, like, I love strong characters. And I feel like all of them are. They're probably my favorite thing, like the themes and the escorting and the mafia and all that. That's like, that's cool, like it makes the story a thing. But I just love seeing these people develop. That's my favorite part. Watching them like create this family and building this life, whether they're good or bad or whatever, you know, they're still people, and watching them just like become like amazing. That's my favorite part. That has been my favorite part.
I love them. And I feel like we also had a question wanting to know if you would ever write another Wilder and Camilla book. Because I guess, I don't know, I see Camilla as, I see her very innocent, but in a way she's an escort. So, but I see her very innocent, I guess, because she's always this happy person. Would you ever consider giving them maybe a small novella just to catch up at readers where they stand after the series ends?
I don't know. Camilla was written very deliberately to like be the exact opposite of of Lydia. I feel like after Tramp, or even in Tramp, we needed someone in there to like soften Lydia up a little bit. I feel like if we didn't have like a buffer in there, Tramp would have been very hard to deal with because Lydia is so closed off. Tramp, you know, like she's a rock. And if we didn't have like a buffer, that would have been pretty difficult. And so Camilla was written very deliberately to be the exact same or exact opposite of her. So I feel like where Lydia is hard to get to, Camilla's very transparent. So I don't know if that needs a whole nother book. Like, I feel like we know she's very honest, like this is happening, this is how I feel, you know, and we see a lot of Wilder and her in Crim, so we know exactly where their path is right now. So I don't know if that's a whole nother book. I mean, like maybe it would be fun to like write like a cat thing and like post it in my group or something, but I don't know if it would be anything I would need to write to like sell.
Will they come up in Vixen too, or no?
Yes, they all will. Yeah. I feel like what's going to happen in the last book is especially with like the mafia thing has been building up over the last 3 books. And that's going to be a huge thing in the 4th book. It's because we're dealing with Rip and Nikolai, who are the mafia, you know. Alan and Wilder were always just kind of dabbling in it. And even when they are in it, they're still out, where Rip and Nikolai are all in. And so it's going to be a new dynamic for their entire family. But yeah, everybody's going to be there.
Well, I'm excited to see them. I'm excited for that book. I'm scared, but I'm excited.
What's next for you in 2022? Since you did say that you have 2 other books you want to write.
Yep. So I want to finish the last Hush book. And I have 2 standalones I really, really, really want to get to. I should be able to finish the 4th book and then get the last one out. I usually don't ever publish more than 3 books in an entire year. So I guess it's that 4th one I want to write and then do to next year. But yeah, I would like to finish the series and then write a standalone. And I'm kind of keeping the standalone idea to myself for now. I know Jan knows a little bit about it, but I'm not to put too much energy into it because then my mind will die in writing this next book won't happen. So
do you have a tentative date of when the 4th book in the Hush series might come out?
I would like it to be done this summer. And my plan is to go like Criminal's finally done out. The audiobook still needs to be done, but that's easy. You know, that doesn't really take too much from me. So I'm started my end already. Covers being done. And so plan is to start writing like here in the next week or so.
Ooh, how exciting. Well, that's so exciting. And I'm so excited for everything that's to come. You know, I love you and I'm so excited. I love everything you do. So I'm super excited and ready for everything. But before we let you go, and I know it's the weekend, so I know you probably have stuff to do. We wanted to play a game with you. It is how well do you know your books? So we're going to read you 6 quotes and you have to see where that quote is from.
Okay.
Are you ready?
You probably gave me all wrong. Okay.
Okay, the first one. He claims to not want me, but he also doesn't want anyone else to have me either.
Dusty.
Do you want to try another? Do you want to guess another book? Because it's not just
Shoot. Dang, see? What do I know? Oh my God. Close.
It's
Oh my
Harlot.
God. What is it?
Harlot.
Oh yeah. Just cut this whole section out. What do I know?
She's a gun pointed at the back of my head, and I didn't see it coming.
It's either tramp or criminal.
We'll give you another guess.
Oh my God.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It's my favorite character.
Oh, Kiss of Death.
Yes.
So if I was in the same series, there's that.
So this one, the only thing you need to be saved from is yourself.
That's tramp for sure.
Yes.
Yay!
She's the sun, and I'm the planet going around the center of the universe.
Oh, that's criminal.
Yes.
That one I know because I just finished it. So
how could the universe be so cruel to make this man both my beginning and the end?
Oh shit. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, I really don't know that one. I think I need to read all my own books again. Well, I don't know. Which one's that?
Severe.
Okay.
And then the last one. The inevitable rises with the sun, and daylight serves as a reminder that we have too much to lose.
Oh, that's tramp.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. I got what, like 2-6? My gosh.
I think it was like what 3 out of 6. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Does everybody do that bad, or is that just me?
Hey, we've had it. You never know. But thank you so much, Mary, for joining us. Seriously, it was an honor. I'm so thankful that you agreed to be with us. Like I said, I love your books. I love you. And I cannot wait for everything that's going to come this year from you. I'm excited for that book, and you know it.
Well, thank you so much. I tell you all the time, thank you enough for everything you do for me. So
you're welcome.
It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much, and we hope you have an amazing weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. I don't know how to hang up. Oh, there we go. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you keep hearing the staticky in her line?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. What was just delivered on my house? My phone is about to die.
Oh. Hey, girl, so she's not friends with the co-author anymore?
I don't think so. I've never asked her. I'm going to ask her.
Then does she want us to cut that part out?
I'll ask her I'll ask her today.
Yeah, ask her and then let me know. So when I edit, so I could cut it out or not. Because I don't want to leave it in and people is going to be like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask her and I'll let you know. But let's close it off. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mary. I love her. I love her so much. She is the sweetest, best person ever. And I just love every time I talk to her, like I get so happy because she's so amazing. I love her books. Please, people, pick up her Hush series. It is very, like we mentioned earlier, and she even said it herself, she doesn't really have a trope to categorize her books in. But I mean, if you love a dark romance with a suspense and that it's gonna have you on the edge of your seat, please pick up the Hush series. I freaking loved Criminal. but please pick up Tramp. You're gonna love it. Make sure you're following her on Instagram. Her Instagram handle is Mary Elizabeth Romance. Follow her so you don't miss out on any of her book news. Trust me. The 4th book in the series is gonna be hot. It's gonna be so good. I'm like freaking dying for it. I'm so excited, but I'm so scared, guys. I'm so scared. But good things are coming. Good things are coming. So make sure you're following her. And then we are on Monday when this podcast goes live. Monday was our 1-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is crazy. I cannot believe we've been doing this for a year.
Seriously. I still can't believe I agreed to do this.
And I cannot believe I agreed to do something we're about to do. So it's like so many things have happened in the last year that I'm like, I never thought we would be doing.
Yes.
But it's also very, I love doing the podcast because I love like, we talk about the books we've been reading, and I feel like every time I finish a book, I'm like, I want to talk to somebody about it.
Yes.
I want my opinions to go, like, I want my opinions out there because I want to see if people feel the same. Yes. And talking to authors along the way has been a dream.
Yes.
Because all of these are authors that we just love.
Yeah.
We just love so much. And we have so many amazing authors coming up too.
Yes.
And like also, and I'm not gonna, and like, it's not just authors. Last year we spoke to Olivia Applegate, the actress playing Riley in the Driven series. Like that podcast was really fun. And hopefully we can do it again this year for Crash and maybe This Man. I want to do This Man, but I'm very scared. I'm very nervous, but I love Jodie so freaking much. And I'm so excited for her. This Man journey is going to be wild.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's going to be wild. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for her. She deserves this. But it's been an honor, talking to these authors, Olivia, and we have so much happening this year for us that I cannot wait until we can share it.
Yes. We keep saying it, but we're not sharing it.
And I know we're such a tease, but we're waiting for one thing. The most important thing. Yes.
And then,
before we can announce it.
Yeah.
Because I want to announce it, but I don't want to do it before we have this one thing and be like, you know what, guys, never mind. We're not going to do it after all.
Yeah. That's
so,
yeah. That's going to be hugely let down if we decided not to do it.
Oh, yes. And I'm going to add this on here. All of this was Peng's idea.
But you agreed to do it.
But where did the idea originate from? You.
If you said, oh, no, I would have been, okay, forget it.
But it would have still been in the back of your head, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it will.
Exactly.
But I did say it. And you said yes. But if you said no, I'll be like, okay, it's okay. But you said yes. I'm like, yes.
But what I mean is this originated it from you. So
yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So I'm super, 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 super stoked. I'm very excited for this. So keep an eye on that. As soon as we get this one thing, we'll announce it. So make sure you're in our following us on Instagram so you don't miss out on that announcement, because most likely that's where we're gonna share it.
Yeah.
Just because this podcast is once a week, most likely our Instagram feed is gonna have the announcement first.
Yes.
So make sure you're following us there. Trust me, it's gonna be amazing. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
And in case you missed our announcement on Sunday, Anna Huang, it is going to be our next author interview on our podcast. And I am so excited to talk to Anna about her Twisted series, especially Twisted Hate. Oh my gosh, that book. I am still not over that book. I love that series and can't wait to talk to her about all of her books and her journey as an author. So if you have any questions, go to that post and submit any questions.
I am so excited. Because you know that bet that we made about what we think is gonna happen with Christian. How he told, was it Jules?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want us to tell her our theories. I know she won't be able to tell us, but she can hold us accountable to see who gets it right at the end and who doesn't.
Yeah. I don't even remember my bet though. What did I say?
What did you say? I said he was gonna use it whenever there was like trouble, and I think you said he was gonna use it to get a date.
Oh yes, a setup. Yeah.
For
her to help set up a date with. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said it was gonna be something like something happened and he needs help, like winning her back or something, or finding her. That's when he was gonna use that favor. We need to write these down. Actually, no, we have this podcast. We can always go back. Like,
yeah,
I am gonna win. So that's see. So guys, make sure you submit your questions. It's gonna be so much fun. And then we have another author interview the following week.
Yes.
And then the following week after that.
Yes. Every Saturday we are gonna have an author
yes. Technically, but it's so much fun. So make sure you stick around for those announcements. And then if you have any questions for us, just message us on Instagram. Our handle is at BookBuzz Podcast. And we'll see you guys next week. We hope you guys have an amazing week with amazing books. If I'm still looking for sad books. So if you guys have any sad books, send them my way. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.